I was in denial about my symptoms before I was diagnosed with MS. I thought initially it was from getting older and not working out enough.
It really wasn't what anyone expected. Mary's always been really active and athletic her whole life. Where we first noticed it was probably a couple of years before her diagnosis. And we would just go walk the dogs in the neighborhood and she would start kind of towing it a little bit. Being not knowledgeable and in hindsight, I'd say, well, you got to work out more. You're out of balance. Last thing we thought of was MS.
About the time that I started getting my first symptoms of MS, we were in Ireland visiting family, hiking. I noticed that things weren't right. And I thought it was more of a hip injury or a foot injury and had no idea that it was neurological. After about a year of dealing with symptoms, I finally realized that there was something more serious wrong with me. I fell a couple times, my leg gave out. Once I finally saw a neurologist, I was diagnosed with MS within a week.
Without doing any tests, the neurologist said, well, you either have, a tumor or MS. It made me angry in the beginning, but at the time, I thought, you haven't done test one, and that's really loud talk to say to someone when you don't know. But what I didn't know is she did know. And so they went through the more tests, and Mary has a more rare MS, the primary progressive. Hers is a degenerative, and it just progressively gets worse.
The doctors did indicate initially that I would expect to be in a wheelchair in 5 years.
It's a bad diagnosis as far as what your projected abilities are going to be 6 and 8 years out.
I have done some reading through work on some of the more extreme cases. It was very shocking.
And that's why I think it was so hard, because her only exposure were people who were at the end of it in a bad shape, and that was her image of it.
I think the first reaction was fear and scared about the outcomes. When I was first diagnosed, the kids were very young, and they didn't really understand it, and we really didn't want them to. When I first started, I had a slight limp. Now fast forward 8 or 9 years, and I use a cane to walk long distances and in parking lots for fear of falling. Right now, the bane of my existence is stairs. 1 or 2 steps are often very difficult, but I'm a lot slower than I used to be.
She's completely independent, which kind of defies all the odds.
We decided to get involved with the MS Society about a year after I was diagnosed. When my husband first decided to ride the MS 150, we met a lot of wonderful people. Out
of sheer naivety, I thought, how hard can it be? It's a bike ride. I hadn't been on a bike in about 40 years. I thought, how big of a deal can it be? It was really hard. When I first did this, I thought I was going to do it for 1 year. I would say I've done it, and I would go on. Something changed in that first year. People off on the side of the road, some of them in a field, some in the back of a pickup truck, in wheelchairs. And they'd be holding up signs saying, thank you for riding for me. And coming into the finish, it was special. I knew then I would do it till I can't do it anymore.
Since I've seen my dad do it for the past couple years, I wanted to try it this year. Seeing her have to face MS every day, and then knowing that there's nothing I can really do to help it. Since this is trying to raise money to find a cure, I feel like it's the most I can do to help other people with multiple sclerosis as well.
Before this year, we had raised about $380,000. We're trying to get to that $500,000 mark. And my thought is, if you have somebody in a tough situation, if that person is, your friend, or in my case, the love of my life, how do you not do something? And that's why we did this.